G'day, my name's Brendan. I'm going to make a loaf of light rye bread today. It's really quite easy, so hopefully you'll get inspired to do a bit of baking at home and make some bread because, yeah, it's easy. So, what I've got here is some flour, very important. It's Lauki flour, a South Australian company flour, it's very good. And we've used approximately 80% white, 20% rye. We've got a total of 600 grams, so that means we've got about 480 grams of white and 120 grams of rye flour. Now this goes into our mixing bowl. Today we're going to be mixing using the Kendall mixer so that we don't have to knead with our hands and it's less mess and just easier. So, to my 600 grams of flour I need to add some yeast. I'm going to do 2 teaspoons. Keep the yeast in the freezer so it doesn't activate early. It's just dried yeast. So we want 2 teaspoons. 1, 2. That's it. Now we need some water, but first we just put what's in the mixer. Now we use the dough hook, which is this bit here, in there. Cool. So now we need to get our water ready, and we use, in this particular mix, 390 mils of lukewarm water, and the lukewarm water will activate the yeast and make it eat the sugars or whatever it does. So we need 390 mils. So we need to get some water, 390 mils as I said. I've just got a measuring jug here. It needs to be lukewarm. We go to 390 mils. Let's try and get it pretty close. Looks good. And now this water goes into the mixture, but we only put about half of it in. Well, not even, put a third in. Close enough. And then we're just going to set it to idle and start to mix it through. Add a little bit more water. Turn it up just a tiny bit. A bit more water. Now I'll put the last of the water in. That'll come together nicely. So after about another 30 seconds you can see the dough starting to come together quite nicely. It's not too moist, it's not too dry, and now we'll give it a knead. And it's going to have to be kneaded in this with the dough hook for at least 6 minutes. I do it for 10 because it seems to create a bit of more of a fluffy bread if you go a bit longer. So I'll now put this on and we'll come back once it's had some time kneading. Dough's been kneading now for about 3 minutes. Just to show you what it's like, it sticks to the hook, but with a spatula you can take it away from the hook. And you can see that the dough's starting to get a bit more springy. And that's what we want. So now I'll just let it finish kneading and then I'll come back and show you. timer's gone off. It's had 10 minutes kneading, and now we're going to have a look at the dough to make sure it's all stretchy. You can see it comes away very easily from the dough hook with the spatula, and it looks really smooth. Cool. I'll bring it over to the camera so you can have a look. So there's our dough. You can see, I hope you can I can get across, it's quite smooth, quite elastic when it comes away in parts. And so now what we'll do is leave it in the bowl. I'm going to cover it up with a tea towel. And then we're going to let it sit. Now it's got to rest and prove twice. And then this first time, leave it in a warm place, not super warm, for probably about 30 minutes, if not 40 minutes. And you really will see it grow as the yeast starts to work and work its magic. It's not super warm in here today, so I might even put it outside, but it's important that you cover it so that it doesn't develop a skin and then crack later on. So we'll give that a go, we'll check it along the way, and I'll show you as it comes out, as it comes through, and then yeah, it should be about. It's now been about 15 minutes. This has been proving and rising. I've actually left it inside because I thought it would be warm enough. So let's take the tea towel off and have a bit of a look. There we go, that's starting to get bigger already. It's a bit hard to tell, but it's certainly grown. You can see it's covering up more of the bowl. And so it's coming along nicely. I think this will probably need another 15 minutes at the tops. I'll check it in 10, and then if it's okay, then we can go on with the next stage. Okay, so we're about another 10 minutes on from when we left off. Maybe a bit longer. I didn't actually set the timer because I forgot, but that's fine. So it's probably been proving for somewhere around about 25 minutes. So let's have a look. So there we go, it's significantly bigger. And I'm going to call it ready because it's got quite a lot of volume. And we're ready for the next stage. So what we do now is we quickly prepare our tin. This is a tin, a loaf tin, standard aluminium tin. Because it's aluminium and not non-stick, not non-stick, we'll have to give it a bit of a grease to make sure it doesn't stick. So this is just canola oil, dry oleum canola oil. Just give a bit of that, coat the sides, bang. Now what we do is a thing they call in baking knock it down, whereby you let air in as it rises in the first instance, and then you give it and knock it down so the air comes out of it. Then it has a chance to prove again. I don't know why they do it, but it definitely produces the best bread, but I don't know the scientific method why. So, what we do with clean hands, they were already pretty clean, but now they're even cleaner. We get our dough, and we move it away from the sides of the bowl. You can do this on a board, but I just find you get too much flour everywhere, so I'm pretty lazy, so the less clean up the better. So I just do it in my hands. And I'll just sort of fold it a bit, pull the dough a bit, fold it a bit, pull it a bit, fold it a bit, and you'll feel it getting smaller as you do knock all the air out. It's a little bit sticky, but that's okay. But what we do is we make a nice round top, eventually, sort of shimmy it around, getting a nice round ball there. And we'll shape it a little bit because we're in an oblong tin. It'll rise to wherever it wants to rise to, but there we go. So you can see in there, it's about level with the top of the tin, bit over. And what's going to happen now is it's going to have its second time proving. So it had its first time in the bowl when it was covered up. Now it can be uncovered, and it'll just fill out to the shape of the tin. In the past, what I've done is overproofed it. And then when you cook it, when you put it into the hot oven, it tends to rise too much and it'll almost tear at the top, which is fine, but it's not as aesthetically pleasing. I haven't really cracked the secret of how to make it without doing it, but let's find out today. Because it's had minimum time proving, hopefully we'll be able to get a good sized loaf without it being too misshapen on the top. So now what we're going to do, we'll leave this again, probably about another half hour with the speed at which the other one rose. Half an hour should be about right, because I think I put a bit more yeast in than normal maybe, don't know, doesn't matter. But what we're going to do is set the oven. There. Fan bake. Let's go 190 to 200. And then that'll make a really nice bread. And it'll bake for, because it's a little bit heavier with the rye, it'll probably bake for about maybe 45 to 50 minutes. A lot of things say tap it till it sounds hollow. I find you tap it, it sounds hollow from about 10 minutes in, or maybe a bit less, sorry, a bit more. But you want to get a really good colour. And once you think it's sort of ready, give it another 5 minutes just to make sure, because there's nothing worse than cutting into half-baked bread, which is, I've done it, and I'm sure everyone's done it. So yeah, now we're just going to leave this, like I say, it doesn't need to be covered, keep it out of the draft, which is okay in here, and then we'll check back in another 20 or so minutes, and then we'll be ready to put it in the oven. Alright, welcome back. We've been proving now for about another 20 minutes, and I've decided that I think it's okay to go into the oven. I'll show you the loaf now. You can see it's a little bit more above the tin, but also it's filled out a lot more, touching the sides, etc. So what we can do now is put it into that oven that we preheated before, about 190, 200 as I said, probably closer to 200. And it's going to be a little bit by feel. A lot of this is by feel. Some of it's by technicalities of weights and that sort of thing, but a lot of it's by feel in terms of proving time and cooking time. So now we'll take it over and get it into the oven. There it is. So it's now been about 20 minutes since the bread went into the oven. I can see through the door it's starting to rise, but what I'm going to do is pull it out and give you a bit of a look, and then we'll give it a turn around. I'll also try and give you an indication of the hollow noise it makes when you tap it, but it's still far too early for it to be done, because like I say, it's only been in for about 20 minutes. So just a second. See there, it's getting a nice colour on top. Looks nice and smooth. It's starting to tear a little bit, but that's fine. That's no biggie. And hear the sound? I'm not fooled. We'll get it back into the oven. Timer on for probably another 20 minutes. Then we'll let it keep cooking, and then I'll come back and show you how it's going. Okay, so it's been another 20 minutes. Well, in fact, it hasn't. The time has gone off for 20 minutes, but I ended up giving it another 10 minutes because I wanted to make sure it was done. So now it's been cooking for 50 minutes, possibly even a little bit over, and I think it's about right. So what I'll do is pull it out, we'll have a look at it, we'll get it on the cooling rack, and then we can go from there. So, bear with me a second. See there, beautiful colour, nice and smooth. Hasn't torn either, which is really good. Stayed pretty smooth on the top. It started to tear, I'll just turn it around. It started to tear a very small amount, but it's otherwise a pretty nice looking loaf. Now we take it out. Ooh, it's hot, would you believe? Oh. There we go. And get him onto there. I don't want that breaking my bench. That in there. And now that can cool on the rack. So there you go, there's a look at the loaf. It's a beautiful looking loaf. It probably hasn't risen as much as some of the other ones, but that's because I proved it for a bit less time, and I think that's probably giving a better result. It's quite warm. Tap it, it sounds hollow, as it always does. So what we'll do, let that cool for a bit, and then we'll come back and slice it up and then finish off the video. Thank you. So this is the culmination of all our hard work. We've got our bread, it's cooked nicely, it's cooled, and now we're just going to cut into it and make sure it's nice. Got here a bread knife, serrated. It's a good bread knife. And don't do this until it is cool, otherwise you'll find yourself tearing through the middle, and you won't get a very good result. So we'll just knock the end off. And here it's quite crusty on top. Nice simple cut. And there you go. Nice and springy, nice and light, not too dense. I'm very happy with that. That's actually one of the better loaves. So that looks really good. And then you can leave it to cool some more if you like. But that'll keep for a while. Keep it in an airtight container once it's totally cool. And it'll keep for a couple of days anyway. Much better result than you get from the shops. And that's the main thing to take away from the video. It's very easy to do. It's very cheap. Knead it as much as you can, 10 minutes or more, either with your mixer or if you don't have a mixer, with your hands. And you've got a really good result, which is something much better than the shop bread anyway. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you give it a go, and if you have any comments, please leave them down the bottom. Thank you. Say hi.